What is up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7 of the Severed Floor. It's time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarych, ready to talk about maybe the wildest episode of Severance we have had yet through 2.5 seasons. Joining me, as always, with a cool background and chair, Rachel Leishman. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Sorry, this light is also flickering as I'm talking, so I really feel like I'm on a severed floor. I'm doing well. I'm in California, so we're live from the West Coast.
You got a big weekend over there in California. What are you up to? What are you there for?
So I'm here for the CCAs, which is tonight, which is really exciting. I realized yesterday as I was talking to other critics that I have two Timothée Chalamet adjacent tattoos next to each other on my arm, and I didn't realize I did it because I got an Interstellar tattoo and it's right underneath my Bob Dylan tattoo, and it was unintentional. Like, I just did it because I wanted my Interstellar by my other Christopher Nolan, and I went, oh, this is like a Timmy section on my arm. So I hope I meet Timothée Chalamet so I could just be like, on accident, I have two things adjacent to you tattooed on my forearm. And then I'm going to do the carpet for the PGAs, which is the Producers Guild of America, not the golf tournament. And then I'm going to Disneyland.
Hell yeah, that sounds like an absolutely fantastic weekend. Ended off with some Disneyland. Joining us as well today is someone my co-host Rachel is very familiar with. We writing at so many different places, including with Rachel over at the Mary Sue, Leah, Marilla, Thomas. Welcome, Leah.
What's going on? I could use an Ort bow right now, let me tell you.
No Ort bows for me because as I got to make a joke about how cold it is here every friggin' show, and it is extra cold here. It's like minus 30 right now.
And I'm wearing a scarf in my own office.
Oh, is it that cold at home?
No, but it is in this room.
That is true. She's famously, Leah's in the room that I am always in on this show, and she is using a blanket that I put in all of my interviews. You just can't see it. Like, that sits on my lap every interview I've ever done.
Rachel's apartment, always there in spirits. But thank you so much for joining us today, Leah. Before we get going with Severance, because Leah has not been in the show in a while, I want to know what you've been watching. And Rachel, we haven't talked in a week, so I want to know what you've been watching as well. Watching, reading, playing video games, whatever. We're all so busy doing stuff with work, so I want to know for your own time, for your own enjoyment. Leah, we'll start with you first. What you've been watching?
What do you mean watching for my own enjoyment?
Well, I don't know what you should say.
Mean? What should I say? That I just watched The Truman Show for the first time?
Oh, well, you should talk about that. But I was
my best friend Truman.
That one director you're picking movies you want to watch by her that you watched one crazy.
Yeah, I've been going through the filmography of Joan Mecklin Silver, a director with lots of like 80s, 90s movies, and that aren't like super cohesive, but they're all very interesting. And for whatever reason, I have not seen her most like well-known film, Crossing Delancey, because it's not streaming, but it is now, baby. So I'm going to watch it tonight.
I saw The Wild Robot just got added to Prime Video, and I got so excited to stream that again because I loved that movie when it came out. It made me cry.
Yeah, do you have
I went to it in theaters. It made me cry, but I still want to watch it again because that was such a beautifully emotional movie, and I loved it so much. Rachel, what have you been watching?
Cobra Kai. I started it for work, and I have not stopped watching Cobra Kai. I'm obsessed with it. Johnny Lawrence is the funniest character ever written. Leah shaking her head because every time she walks in, he's insulting.
Yeah, because that's why I haven't been watching anything recently, is because you've been watching Cobra Kai on our television, and I don't care for it, and I find it very disorienting, like a Disney Channel show with fuck words. But I do see why people like it, because it's a Disney Channel show with fuck words.
It's so funny. Johnny Lawrence is the funniest character known to man. So I've been watching that. I watched 3 movies on the plane ride here, and by watched, I mean I put movies on that I knew really well and just let them play. So I would wake up. So I watched Big Fish. So I stayed awake till my favorite part of Big Fish, which is they say when you meet the love of your life, time stands still. And I watched that whole scene, and then I went to bed. Then I woke up and I put on, what was the next movie? Oh, Jerry Maguire. I did not see Jonathan Lipnicki, but like none, no times. I slept through all of Jonathan Lipnicki scenes. I only saw Regina Hall, Tom Cruise, and I saw the scene where he's like, "You complete me," and then you had me at hello. That was what I saw of Jerry Maguire. And then I watched I, Tonya, and I stayed up a little bit more for I, Tonya because it was towards the end of the flight. But still, only hit the greatest hits. And I went to bed.
We've also been mainlining a lot of SNL in prep for the 50th.
Yeah.
As well. That's taken up a lot of time.
That is true.
Speaking of movies just added to streaming, I saw that Saturday Night just got added to streaming, and I haven't seen that one yet. So my wife and baby are out of town this weekend. That's probably something I'm going to add to the list, as well as the insane amount of Marvel Rivals I'm probably going to be playing this weekend. We got through Luke Cage season 2 in our Defenderverse watch, which means I'm so excited. It is time to be back with my boy Matt Murdock. We started Daredevil season 3 in preparation of Daredevil Born Again coming next month, which of course we will be live breaking down each and every week immediately after the weekly releases. We got lots of shows coming right now, so you got to make sure you're smashing the like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out. Every Wednesday, we're talking your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Every Thursday, we're talking Invincible. Just yesterday, we had fellow New Yorker, friend of Leah and Rachel Tollison, on the show, on our first Invincible show, breaking that down with us. You can find it now on our YouTube channel, as well as my interview with Robert Kirkman and Simon Rasiopa, creator and showrunner of Invincible, now up on our YouTube channel. We're also going to be breaking down Captain America, Brave New World, Thursday the 13th, late at night after we all see it. And you can also find my interview with director of the film, Julia Sona, up wherever you get your podcasts and on the Agents Fandom YouTube page. So smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's talk about Severance. This episode was crazy. Straight from the get-go, we wake up in what looks to be half hour away from where I live, just full of trees and cold.
Yeah, where is this show set? I need to know at this point because it's crazy. They're always doing something crazy. I'm like, where are they?
Rachel, what's going through your mind when all of a sudden we end up in the cold and on ice and on cliffs and just in the middle of the forest?
First of all, Irving, I do this all the time. I confuse Bert and Irving in my head. But Irving could have died. So, like, what policy did Lumen have with their Audis that were like, we're taking you on this retreat? Like, Irving could have just died. He was standing on an ice, like a lake. And he's like, oh, I'm on ice. Were they going to dive in and get him out? Like, I don't understand their thought process with that one. But, like, I truly was very worried for everybody. As I saw behind Leah's head, my good sweet boy, Benjamin Wyatt the cat, is in that room. And that whole episode made me very concerned for all of Adam Scott. Every limb, every hair on his head, I was very concerned for him.
This really felt like the first time that Lumen had the big upper edge on them. You know, it kind of seemed like the innies were starting to take over and starting to have the upper hand. And then this episode, they all just wake up in the middle of fucking nowhere. And they're cold, wearing these adorable matching outfits. And they have no idea what the hell is going on. Leah, what's going through your mind when this episode began?
Well, I'd seen the one image of the 4 of them in their little hoods, so I knew something like this was coming. I didn't expect it so soon. I didn't expect it right after last week's cliffhanger. And so I'm probably as disoriented as they are. And then it immediately becomes very, very lost when we get the like orientation video.
Dieter. Old
yeah.
Dieter Eagen. Who the fuck is Dieter Eagen? As our guy Dylan G says. And we find out that it is the twin brother of Kier, who, after reading some weird ass scripture from the Appendix 4, we're skipping ahead a little bit, but I don't care because this is just such a wild episode. We're going to be going back and forth. At first, I kind of thought this Appendix 4 of Kier's handbook was maybe some pieces of Rickon's novel already changed. I don't know how fast that takes to happen, but we saw them talking about that with Rickon. I was wondering if that was that already. Dieter is out here masturbating in the woods, running away, and turning into trees. And I don't know what the hell is going on here with this book that Milchick was reading from them. Rachel, do we think Dieter is a real person? What was his significance in all of this?
Listen, I never know who's real. Because first of all, if you ask me to name Egan's, Helena, that's what I got. Because there's so many of them, and every time they're like, and now here's this Egan. I'm like, I don't know what that man's deal is. You're making me do too much thinking about this Egan person. Where I'm like, I'm sure eventually it'll tell me who it is. But so like this guy, I don't think is real. But also, again, I don't think any of the Egans are real. I think there's 2 of them, and then we have now pretended like there's a million of them.
Leah, what do you think the deal is with this story? Was this a real human being? Was this supposed to be a metaphor for somebody? Why is he jerking off in the woods?
Okay, so I watched that scene about 3 times this morning because I wanted to try and get some perspective on it, and I can't say that I did. However, it's interesting that Helena is the one that identifies it as masturbating and adds this like Puritan aspect to it. And then so that's pinging something for me. And then Milchick says, I would have thought this team would be more open to interpretation or something. That's not quoting exactly. So I have to wonder if it's a parable for something else, if it's a weird parable for work-life balance, or I don't know. And whether or not Dieter is real, I think he's who Robbie Benson is playing. Rachel and I have been very, we know that Robbie Benson, the voice of the Beast in Beauty and the Beast, is cast in this season. And he looks kind of like the guy that plays Kier. They could be brothers.
And he was labeled.
Was he in the credits for this episode?
I don't remember. I thought I was right. Never mind. I'm taking it back. I don't know if he was in the credits for this episode.
Let's not count on that. But he might have been.
Potentially.
Talking live. Can't stop and research. Yeah, so I want to think he's real. The twin aspect is interesting, but I would not be surprised if it was a parable either. I don't know. We can go either way with this show.
We finally get the reveal that it has been Helena Eagen all along. Helly R has not been back. It's been Helena Eagen the whole time. She says, Seth, do it. When we get to when Bert is
Irving.
Yeah, I did the same thing you did. When Irving is threatening her life, waterboarding her into the ice cold lake. We'll get to the Irving side of things in a bit, but Leah, I want to throw this to you. It's been Helena Eagen all along. It's been Helena all along. Did you know? Did you speculate that it was going to be Helena the whole time? Even after moments in this episode where she says, after Irving's been questioning her, I didn't like my other self. And at that moment, it's kind of given Helly vibes of like, was she actually just lying? At any moment, did you think it was Helly? Did you think it was Helena all along?
let's see. It was almost too convenient when she said that, because that was the reason that people were giving for why Helly would have lied, is that she was ashamed. And so when she said that, it was a little bit too perfect. No, I could tell, and I don't remember a couple weeks back whether or not I came to the theory independently or I saw it online and I said, yes, I'm going with this. But from the beginning, I've been fairly certain that it was not Helly, that she was not acting the way Helly would act.
We saw it as a tweet.
Did we? Yeah. And I said correct. But yeah, in this episode, let me see. Did I trust her? I think when she did the seal, when she made that little seal for Irving, that was the most Helly that I had seen her. And maybe that's interesting. Maybe that's like Helena is able to access more of the personality that becomes Helly R in this environment, outside of the office. That's kind of cool food for thought.
I do find it very interesting how, where they were talking in the behind the scenes part after this episode, where they referenced season 1. The season 1 innies were very much kids. The season 2 innies are very much, now that they've existed longer, this is kind of like their adolescence. They're figuring things out. They're going on their own. They want to make their own choices. They're rebelling to help their outies. They're exploring their sexuality. It's very much the adolescent phase of the innies. So to me, that kind of makes it feel like Helly could maybe be like the good within Helena, the kid version, the wondrous, sarcastic, childlike figure within Helena. And that does come out sometimes. And I can't help but wonder as well, with the moment with Mark where she says, like, I didn't like who I was on the outside. Was that still all part of the act and she was just trying to think of a reason? Or was that slipping out a little bit of Helena doesn't like who she's become and she misses the Helly inside of her a little bit, and she was kind of letting that out? But either way, she's pretending to be Helly. She is not Helly. Mark S. thinks he's with Helly in that tent in the Ortbo, having his first time, losing his innie virginity. But that is not Helly, Rachel.
No, she sexually assaults him. Helena Eagen sexually assaults Mark S.
Because and Helly R.
Yeah,
Helly R didn't consent to that either, which is so fascinating.
Complicated
because now you have every severed individual has now created a person who is like not consenting to any sex they have. It's so complicated.
So then, okay, here is my
fucking Dollhouse did a better job with this.
Leah's real agenda to talk about Dollhouse. I got a question. What happens if your outie gets pregnant? Do they just tell you not to come to work for 9 months? Because that would be crazy, right? To be like, oh, you're pregnant? Okay, go see your innie. Like, if I was an innie and I woke up, I'd be like, the fuck? Like, I don't understand how that works. Now I have questions about the logistics of, like, family building at Lumen.
Well, we've already seen a person use the severance procedure to have birth.
No, that's so not.
I know, but it's on their minds.
I guess. And there was that story about an innie who had an affair and got pregnant at work. But like, didn't know.
Dylan G's wife is gonna tell outie Dylan one day. She's gonna be like, "Hey, I'm pregnant with another kid," and he's gonna be like, "We haven't had sex in 6 months." And we did at work with your innie is totally gonna be something.
Ava got me in the comments, and it was mentioned in season 1 that an innie got pregnant while at work. So like, it's crazy to me. It's just crazy to me.
I don't want to snitch on whoever brought up this comment to me. It may be the person that I live with that's in the chat right now. It may not be. Do you think the innies have been masturbating at work in the bathroom? Because they don't have a home life. They have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to explore their own sexuality. They're always at work. Have innies been finding a secret place to masturbate within Lumen?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Do you think the goat people fuck the goats?
I hope not.
I'm just saying.
Some of them looked like they had some serious goat characteristics. I'm still all aboard that they were created from the goats. I think they're clones from the goats. That's the page that I'm on there. But Leah, what's your take on the Mark S and Helena sexual assault essentially that occurs here?
Yeah, it definitely is. And then there's like that creepy lighting in the tent. It looks like an incubator. It's so
bouncing
sinister.
Back and forth to Bert. They did it again to Irving.
To Irving, she incepted you.
Irving. Everyone's talking about Irving.
Everybody's talking about Irving. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about the reintegration that happens right after. If we can move on to that.
Lead into it.
Because for a second, her face changes to Gemma's face, not Miss Casey's face. She does not have straight across bangs. That is a memory of his wife. Very specific.
I was wondering why we were like at the beginning of this episode until that, why it was just kind of like, wait, shouldn't Mark be going through some shit right now? Like, shouldn't Mark be coming into Mark S's life? And we get it for the very first time, Rachel, when all of a sudden Gemma pops in.
You know what it's giving? This is for Leah, because she made me watch this entire show recently. It was giving how Angel loses his soul after he orgasms, because it's like pure, like he feels happiness. It was giving that. It's like he had sex and was like, felt happy, and then it was like, just kidding, bitch. Like that's what it was reminding me of.
If you're not watching us on YouTube, which you should be, so you can smash that like button. But if you're listening in podcast form,
no, smash that dislike button
with your jaw drop.
But it's like, you know what I mean? Where it's like, we have a guy who just had sex.
You mean it's a metaphor for how sex is a sin and you shouldn't do it?
I guess. Like, this is now the second time it's happened where it's like, oh, you just had sex. It's instead of like, we need Akon.
He's going to turn into moss and die.
We need Akon and Lonely Island to come back and make another lyric to I just had sex. Because all of this media is like, you just had sex? I'm destroying your life because of it. Like, he like started to, what's it called? Reintegrate.
It triggered a memory. It's not that complicated.
No, there's a deeper meaning. Mark my words.
Mark your words.
Mark my words.
I just gotta say, you two have, and I'm assuming it has something to do with living together, but you two have excellent podcast chemistry, and it's absolutely hilarious.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Not everybody would say that.
Not everyone thinks this, but
Not everyone thinks this.
Some
I
people
thought it was so funny
by
how
us.
I was watching the behind the scenes stuff afterwards, and poor, sweet, lovely Adam Scott. He's sitting there in his interview, and he's like, I think a lot of people aren't going to realize that it's been Helena the whole time, and they're going to look back and they're going to watch and they're going to see things that point to showing that it was Helena the entire time and not Helly. So I think that's a fun reveal people won't see coming, but then we'll go back and watch and catch some pieces of. No, Adam, we all knew. We all knew from the beginning. I was trying to
out from the trailer.
And that's a compliment to Britt Lower. I want to be very clear. He's saying that people aren't going to notice because Britt Lower was so good. No, we all noticed because she's so good.
Yeah.
We could tell the difference.
And even there were points where I was trying to convince myself it was Helly because it was so direct going towards Helena. And then when you have the moments of Helena Eagen, Britt Lower doing such a good job pretending to be Helly as Helena, you actually think, oh shit, is it her? And so you flip back and forth, and I thought it was so incredibly well done. And even in her conversations with Irving in this episode, she had one of the like Natalie moments from the episode before where there's no dialogue being spoken, but the change in the voice from soft to hard, the change in her face from soft to hard, just like such incredible facial acting in that episode that we saw Natalie do it with her conversation with Milchick when her smile just disappeared for a second and then it was back on. And with this one, it was like you could see Helena pop into the Heli act. Helena showed up in the Heli act and then she switched it back to Heli just kind of on a dime. And it was so cool.
I was trying to be Natalie, just to be clear. So if people were looking at me and thought I was being crazy, I was just like smiling.
The doubles in this episode were so damn creepy. The Hellies in particular, like the twins that kept showing up to like point them in the right direction, they were all just like weird animatronics. How'd they make these animatronics that quick? And these same things that are all the Eagans and in the
they got the Disney people.
The Disney people to come in. What's harder to make? A claymation movie or a full animatronic of a Lumen worker?
What famously, thanks to Ben Wyatt, we know that probably an animatronic is a lot faster than making a claymation movie.
Could a depressed person do this?
Yes. I worked for 2 weeks on this.
Helly
if
with
you
the
even
head
care, Ortbo is an anagram of robot.
Huh?
Ortbo is an anagram of robot.
Oh my god.
So many weird layers to this show. I found the stuff
like
with
their outfits.
Yeah, like their outfits. Why are they all matching? Why does Milchick have the white one? What is Miss Wong doing there? Do her parents know she's in the middle of nowhere?
That's a child.
Dumping the little.
When did she learn the theremin?
Dropping the little Kier marshmallows into the fire. Dylan G looks so damn sad that he doesn't get to try the marshmallows. It's so weird that it's Helena that instigates the whole thing to make it without the marshmallows because she's in on the whole thing. And they talked about, I think it was Tremel Tillman. Damn it, I was so close. I remembered Tremel was the first name this time. Tremel Tillman was being interviewed in the behind the scenes stuff, and he was saying like the main goal of this was to scare the shit out of them. It was to freak them out. That's what Lumen is wanting to do with these workers right now. And I think it works with Dylan big time. It's making him appreciate his perks with his wife a little bit more. He turns on Irving as soon as he starts mentioning familial members because Dylan G now really cares about his family. So he turns on Irving and he's alongside Helena and Mark for their argument. And all the speculating that people have done throughout the season of like, Irving knows it's because of the Night Gardener. It's because of this. That all came to fruition in this episode. He was not letting the Night Gardener thing go. And he straight up knew she's an Eagen. She's a mole. This is Helena. He didn't just know something was up. He knew it was Helena. Irving flipped this whole show on his head, Rachel.
He went crazy. I love him so much. Like, here's the thing. John Turturro, one of our best actors of all time. But watching John Turturro threaten to strangle a woman and like drown her because he's like, you're lying to us. I was like, oh, okay. He's not messing around. He's like, I'm done. You're gonna tell me, or this woman, Indy and Audi, are dying as one person. And I have to kind of respect it. I'm not a component of violence, especially violence towards women. But that Indy said, enough. I'm getting answers, and I'm going to get them in any way I can. And he did. And the minute it was Helly, he stopped doing it, and I have to respect him for it.
And the part, what I find interesting is I actually believe that Helly would have wanted him to do the exact same thing. If Helly knew that was Helena the whole time, she would have said, like, do whatever you have to do. Kill this motherfucker if you have to.
When I feel like Mark...
She's already tried.
Yeah. I feel like Mark would have. Mark knew. Mark was just in denial.
Yeah.
And then he was in further denial because he was like, oh, but I had sex with her. So it was like he had a double denial. in that whole moment was like, what is going on? But also he was wearing suspenders and running around in the woods. I don't know what his whole vibe was this episode.
I really like that they brought up the adolescence thing in the behind the scenes thing, because to me that seems so teenager of like Mark S has been so driven this whole time because he's got to find out the truth. He's got to find out where Miss Casey is. But then at the end of the day, he's like, ooh, but there's this girl I really like. So I actually can't do my responsibilities today. I got to go and spend time with this girl I really like. Very, very teenager, very, very, very teenage boy. And I think that was really, really well written. But Leah, what did you think of Irving's reign of chaos?
Loved it. Loved it. He's not letting that night gardener thing go in a way that's a little bit annoying, but necessary. Like, and God, I feel for him in that campfire so much. I think we've all been around a couple that's just so annoying and so in their own little thing that you're just like, shut the fuck up. And Mark was just
said
like
the meanest shit to him known to man.
Yeah.
Hell, he was never cruel.
Hell, he was never cruel. Yes, and then he has this crazy dream. The dream gave him the answers. Like, the dream was what was telling him that she was an Eagen.
Who was the bald ass lady?
That was Woe from the story.
That was Woe, yeah. Is Woe real?
Yeah.
I don't know that anyone is actually real. They're all going to be in comas. It's going to be like the Bob Newhart show. They're going to wake up and be like, I had the craziest dream. I wouldn't put that part past Ben Stiller.
I still don't think the board is real. I still think the board is AI.
Yeah, I believe that.
It's just a cyborg.
They're building a body for the board.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's Cold Harbor.
I can't believe he survived sleeping in the snow. My girl Jackie on Yellow Jackets did not.
Yeah, Leah was like PTSD.
Yeah.
After Yellow Jackets, our apartment, if you don't turn the heat on in the winter when it starts to snow, you just don't get heat. Like, you have to like time it correctly. And that episode aired as our like heat happened to be frozen that year. She was like, I'm gonna die. And so it was like when he did that, she was like, it's PTSD again. Like, he's gonna die in the wilderness in the snow. Irving was fine though.
He was until he wasn't, because the episode ends with, at least for now, an R.I.P. Annie Irving. Does that mean Audie Irving is just gonna wake up right there and be like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I think that's what we saw.
He's investigating shit. He's already been investigating shit. So like,
yeah, but I think Irving B has a sense of that. Well, yeah, he knows, like, he's got an upper hand over Milchick because he knows his Audi is investigating them, and I think he knows they don't know that. And like in his mind,
they don't.
He's arced out. His innie is arced out. He's like, Bert's not here. What am I supposed to, like, go ahead and kill me, whatever, because my Audi's got me.
Well, but they don't know, because remember Milchick asked him multiple times, where did you end up? And he was like, just like in my house, walking around on the street. Mm-hmm. Like, he did not tell him that he ended up at Bert's house.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see Irving's out, if we're going to just pick up directly where we are next episode, because they very rarely do that, right? They very rarely do that in this show. I was expecting to get like more on Mark's reintegration at the beginning of this episode, then all of a sudden they're in the woods in the middle of winter.
Yeah, I almost thought it was a flashback. It took me a while to get oriented in time in this episode, honestly.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. And so I'm wondering if episode 5 will be right there. You know, Mark is still with Helly. He's like, what the fuck? Have you not been Helly the whole time? Irving is in his Audi form right there with him, probably ready to call out Milchick. Dylan G is still like, what the hell is going on? I just want to see my wife and eat some marshmallows. What is happening? I told you that those were our twins, just like Dieter. I knew it. Fuck you guys. He was just he's after being one of the kind of main characters with the plot heavily revolving around him the last episode and even the episode before, he kind of was just relegated to comic relief in this one, but he still did a really, really good job and switched that to being the kind of emotional heartbeats when he found out Irving was telling the truth. And you could see the pain and the shame on his face of being like, shit, I let my best friend down. I'm sorry, man. Rachel, what do you think about Dylan G's arc this episode?
I was like, I can talk about that. Because I will admit to you, TJ, now here live on the air, for the first time ever on our Severance podcast, I watched this episode and then said, I need answers. So I watched the next episode. So I can't.
We've seen episode 5. I've been so devout this whole season.
How dare you do this to me?
Well, I didn't know that I was going to be here when I made that decision.
I watched the end of that episode and was like, I need some more answers. So I cannot speculate because I have seen the next episode of Severance. But as for Dylan's storyline, I do like that last episode we got so much Dylan in this episode. He was like, I'm on a camping trip. Like I gotta just fucking focus on camping because I have to survive a camping trip in the middle of the woods. And I kind of like that because I wouldn't like if we got that episode last time and then all of a sudden it turned into like the Dylan G story, because that's not what Severance is. Severance is very much Mark's story. And then you have these focused episodes on characters. And so I really liked that it like went back into like, okay, it was like an ensemble episode. Everyone has stuff going on. We're seeing it way more as like a group episode instead of focusing on one specific character.
I think that is really well said. And I guess we can't speculate about the episode 5 now before we kind of conclude. But Leah, I will throw it to you. Any final thoughts or anything we didn't cover from Severance season 2, episode 4?
Mr. Milchick is becoming my favorite character on this show.
I'm going through it.
He really works so much. And, you know, he might be a problematic fave for me because he evil, I guess, but man, do I feel for him. He had to put together a whole DVD video for them. He's setting all this stuff up. His only help is a child and a theremin. What else have I got?
His only help is a child and a theremin.
Yeah. Marshmallows are for team players. Great line.
Marshmallows are for team players.
Let's see. Glasgow break. That's an interesting phrase. That's what they called it when they turned Helena back into Heliar. Or Glasgow block. Glasgow block is what Milchick said.
Glasgow block. And Ava in chat was asking that, is Helena reintegrated? I don't think so. I think they just turned her chip off because they were able to just flip it back on.
Yeah.
At that,
I think it's the same general principle of being able to like
the overtime contingency.
The overtime policy. It's the same idea.
When they were having sex, I wrote down, are they wearing Mormon magic underwear? I don't think they are. I think that's just long underwear. But in terms of the morality of this show, it's something to think about.
Could Helena be pregnant? Because I didn't see no protection.
I really didn't see any pulling out either.
Remember when I said it looked like an incubator? Maybe that was the point. Maybe she was doing that on purpose.
That. TJ, that was the worst. Did you hear TJ?
No, I was chit-chatting to myself.
He said, and I didn't see no pulling out.
Hey. Yeah.
What was the thing in Irving's dream? It had a name, like kind of, to me, I took that as Mark's version of Cold Harbor, of like whatever
Oh yeah, the program.
MDA, whatever macro data MDR project is. It had a name in the top like left-hand corner of the screen, and I don't remember what it is off the top of my head.
Yeah,
But
I was looking at the letters and numbers because the letters were spelling out Helena Eagen scrambled, and then I couldn't tell which numbers there were. There was like a 3,
8,
a 7, and a 1.
6, 8, 15.
No, it wasn't those. Trust me, I checked.
wasn't the lost
There was
one.
a 7 in there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because TJ, I don't know if you've seen this theory, but there's a theory online. Leah wrote it up on the Mary Sue.
It's not a theory, it's an Easter egg.
Well, it's an Easter egg. That all of
Montauk.
their lockers. Oh.
Montauk.
That's what was in the corner of the screen for Irving. Montauk.
Meet me in Montauk, Montauk?
And she said
Eternal
715
Sunshine of the
is
Spotless Mind, Montauk? Interesting.
We can't be crying.
Yeah,
But the theory, TJ, or not the theory, is Leah said the Easter egg is that all of their lockers are the lost numbers.
Yeah, I saw that from Joanna Robinson was tweeting about that from The Ringer. And so I saw that there. And shout out to Joanna Robinson, Dave Gonzalez, Gavin Edwards, because their book, MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, if you go and pick up the new version with the brand new chapter added to the end of it, you will find Carlos Freitez's Agents of Fandom review right there below New York Times on the back of the book. So go check that one out if you haven't had it yet. Rachel, any final thoughts from Severance Season 2, Episode 4?
Hold on.
Bless you.
I just sneeze. Anyways, I think we covered a lot of my pressing thoughts on it because it was literally just the only thing I came out of this episode worried about was Mark. Because I was like, that man was sexually assaulted. Is he going to be okay? He is an innie. I don't know that he knows that's what happened to him. And as always, I care the most about an Adam Scott character. So I'm like, save this man. He's a small, skinny white boy. He does not know how to defend himself. Even when Adam Scott was an asshole as Derek and Step Brothers, I was like, someone get him in therapy. He just needs some help. He needs to talk to somebody. So
wow, my name is Derek, and I can sing high like this. Sorry, everybody. All the different parts when like we were talking about, he was seeing Gemma during the Helena intercourse assault session. It reminded me of this like dark and really despicable Reddit thing that I saw go viral one time, but it just made me laugh so hard and I couldn't help it. And it was a Reddit thread where people were like, hey, if you could go back in time and sleep with one person at any point in history, who would you choose?
1970s and 80s Harrison Ford.
And the top comment was this guy with this beautiful paragraph saying like, my wife died 10 years ago. I miss her so much.
I remember that.
She was my best friend in the world. I would choose my wife. And then the top reply, I too would choose this guy's dead wife. And for some reason, when I was watching this episode,
I remember that.
That's what I thought of. And I just, every time I see that post, I think it is so damn funny. But
I like that was a sweet story. And I, without pause, was like, 1980s Harrison Ford. It's not a question.
Very fair. Very fair. Can't
Do you want to speculate, TJ? And we'll go like these?
Yeah, we'll go.
I don't really have too many speculations from this episode. Like my biggest things are, I think the board is an AI. I think Cold Harbor, Mark's MDR project is cloning his dead wife, is bringing her back to life via cloning by programming her personality back together. And I think that's why it's so important, is because he's the person who has gotten closest to perfecting cloning. But from this specific episode, I don't really have anything. I'm just really excited to see what happens in episode 5. And I hope it picks up right where it left off. That's kind of my hopes for episode 5, is that it picks up right where it left off and we get to see Irving's outie interacting with the rest of the group. We get to see Helly for the first time this season, is kind of what I'm hopeful for episode 5. What are you hopeful for episode 5? Let us know in the comments. Let us know on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. Hit the like button. Follow us on social. Follow us on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Hit the notification bell. All of the things. Just do all the things, please. Help us build this community. We're going live basically every day of the week. We got Wednesday, so Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. We got Thursdays, Invincible. Friday, Severance. Captain America, Brave New World next week. Daredevil, Born Again next month. We're upcoming on Andor Season 2. The Last of Us Season 2. It's just not going to stop this whole year. We got great content, so make sure you are following. Leah, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people find you on socials? Where can they find your work?
You can find me on socials at Leah Marilla. My Instagram and Twitter are private, but that doesn't mean you can't follow me. I'll probably let you in. Not private on Blue Sky. It's definitely not private on Letterboxd. Come find me. I'm writing everywhere and nowhere. Cosmo, Polygon, Vulture. What else? The Mary Sue. I don't know.
Collider.
Oh, Collider. Yeah.
That was my C.
I was like, cookie.
Rachel, where can people find you on socials? And where can they find your work?
Can follow me at Rachel Leishman on Twitter, Rachel_Leishman everywhere else, including Letterboxd. Thank you, Leah. Follow me on Letterboxd. All movies are 5 stars unless you've hurt me, and then you have no stars. With the exception of The Last Jedi, you got 4 stars because in my review I said -1 for the blue titty milk. So I couldn't change it to 5 stars. You can find my work at the Mary Sue and Collider, and you can listen to my podcasts, Padro Pascal, the Powell Pod, and Cinema Sibs, all where you listen to podcasts.
I also do want to give a quick plug to, I talked about my interview with Julia Sona, Brave New World director already, but Agents of Fandom co-owner, former co-host of the podcast, interviewed Julia Sona, Anthony Mackie, and more in Las Vegas in person for the press junket for Captain America Brave New World. Garrett Blaney did an awesome job. And then another Agents of Fandom co-owner and former co-host of the podcast, Adam Blevins, wrote up those interviews. And so you can find them up on collider.com right now. They got some really great stuff. Garrett did a really great job with those interviews. So make sure you check those out. And thank you so much for everyone who joined us this week. Thanks for tuning in live.
Ava complimented Leah. Pull up Ava's comment. She complimented Leah.
What'd I do?
Leah,
What did I do?
I loved hearing your thoughts. Come back. So we will definitely have to get Leah hopefully back on for another Severance pod. But if not Severance, definitely one of the many other shows that we're going to be covering over the next bit.
Okay.
That'll do it for this week, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We still will have another episode of the Comic Corner dropping over the weekend, so stay tuned for that. And then we will be back Wednesday for Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Thursday, we will have 2 live shows next week covering episode 4 of Invincible, as well as covering Captain America Brave New World. And then Friday, we will be back for episode 5 of Severance, which Rachel and Leah have already seen, and I haven't, and I'm not bitter. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. We will see you next week. Peace.